drink. Just water out of my LTT store water bottle. Yeah, there's I don't know. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a lot of fish in there. I need to do some work on it. They're guppies, so they just breed constantly, and I did not expect that many to be in there in the short time that I've had them in there. So they're going to go into a 55 that's right over there. Don't worry. I take good care of them. I'm going to do a water change on the 55 in prep to put a bunch of these guys in there. And then I'm going to do a water change here. And then I'm going to do a water change. I got a whole bunch of tanks. It's water change night after this. So don't worry about it. If you're listening to the podcast, I have a fish tank behind me full of guppies, and they multiplied faster than I thought they would. Anyway, with that, let's get started with the show. So I'm going to hit that stream button. It's going to come over here, give me the OK to go live button, and 3, 2, 1. And we're live here on Facebook. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land. And unfortunately, I don't get to welcome my buddy Rich. Rich, hope all is good this weekend. They have a birthday tomorrow. I'm out of town tomorrow. And then they needed some time to just relax this week today. So they are resting and relaxing and taking time, just the two of them, him and his wife, tonight. So I am flying solo. So Rich and your wife, hope you guys are doing well. We love you guys. If you need anything, let us know. We might be 5 hours away, but we will do our best. Anyway, with that being said, man, it's been a busy week. I've had multiple nights this week where I just haven't been home. So get to relax a little bit. I'm doing water changes on some fish tanks after this, and then maybe play some games. I don't know. I'm tired, and maybe I'll just sit here and veg out and watch and play games. But I need to do water changes, so might do that. It's been a cold one, but everything seems to be going well here at the house. So, lot of football to talk about. There's a couple of things coming up, and a couple other things coming up, and there's some quick hits, lots of football for me to talk about. And with that, let's roll the intro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And I'm back. Okay, before we get into any of the sports stuff for the week, we do have a poll question to talk about. This week's poll question was Pop-Tarts versus Cinnamon Rolls. To me, hands down, one of the easiest things to do, and that's, for me, it was Cinnamon Rolls. I love them. I use them all the time. We have them regularly. It's great. I love it. So that's what I voted for. Rich voted for Pop-Tarts. The lone vote for Pop-Tarts, by the way. Rich, you stand alone. Next week, Rich, I know Rich always listens to this when he's not on, so I know he's going to hear this. Rich, I want to hear your reasoning on Pop-Tarts over Cinnamon Rolls. I always love Cinnamon Rolls, and so does Jordan Stroop, Matt Johnson, Josh Hendricks, and Josh Couture. And we all voted for Cinnamon Rolls. It's been a week. I apologize if you're watching on YouTube. This is going up a day after, or 2 or 3 days after its original air date. I didn't get anything up last week because it's been a week and I needed a break, and so I forgot to do some things. So hopefully after this gets done, while some of the water change stuff is happening that I don't need to be a part of in my fish tanks, I will hopefully be able to watch. I will hopefully be able to get get stuff updated for next week. David Hovinga just chimed in and stated that he also votes for cinnamon rolls. Cinnamon rolls way better than Pop-Tarts. Even the cinnamon Pop-Tarts don't even hold a candle. Next week's poll question is going to be Fruit Loops. We're back to cereal. Fruit Loops versus Peanut Butter Captain Crunch. Yeah. Going to be a good week with that. So with that, we have football week in review. Really, that's the biggest thing we're going to talk about this week. I got a couple little things at the end that I added on. But for the most part, we're going to be talking football this week. Big week in football as we had our wild card weekend. The Browns got stomped by the Texans. Rich and I both picked the Browns in that game, and the Texans pulled it out 45-15. I'm actually happier about that. I like the Texans story this year. I like C.J. Stroud. By the way, the Texans are now playing with house money. Year one, they were not expecting to be this good. C.J. Stroud has come out and proved to the nation that he was worth where he was drafted at. Probably deserved to be drafted number one. I love this for them. The Texans are getting back on track. They look good. Man, I love it for them. I'm so happy for them. It's going to be a good week for them. It was a great week for them. I think this week's a little tougher. We'll get to that in a minute. But we also have to talk about the Dolphins-Chiefs game exclusively on Peacock. Man, I can't stand this at all. I won't pay for Peacock. I use the free side of Peacock. I don't mind the NBC games. I don't mind regular season games being on a subscription-based service. But I hate the fact that a playoff game is now on subscription-based service. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't watch it. They had the largest viewer base for subscription-based event ever. Well, okay. What other massive subscription-based events have we had like this? And I wouldn't even say this is a huge one, but man, it's nuts. The Chiefs, the Dolphins Chiefs, it was cold in Kansas City. It was just brutally cold. The game went on. I think the temperature got down below -4. You could buy tickets for $75. It's a good thing I didn't know about that because I think I probably would have bought tickets for it just to go. I didn't, and that's fine. I didn't need to go. I do like the Chiefs. That's my AFC team. I've said it before on here, and I'll say it again. If they're ever playing the Bears, though, I'm going to cheer for the Bears over the Chiefs all day. I may pick. So there's a difference when I pick what the Bears are going to do and me saying what I want the Bears to do. I want the Bears to win every game. Even as a fan that knows that losing games is better for us, I still enjoy watching them win a game. Why? Because I'm a Bears fan. I'm never going to change that. But, the Chiefs played last week. They are my AFC team, winning 26-7 over the Dolphins. Yeah, that cold really, there's an issue. There's a difference when you talk cold. In an athlete it's once you start going numb, which I guarantee you some of these guys are, the problem is less about what damage you can do, which you can do damage, but it's more about the fact that you can't, when you're numb, you can't control your muscles the same way. You can't do things that are required of you to do. So the things that normally you find easy, you have to work to do it. The things that, like, we live in, I live in Northwest Iowa. Rich lives in Central Iowa. This last week, we saw temperatures below 10 below a couple of days this week. Air temperature, not the wind chill, not the feels like temperature, but the actual air temperature. We're going to be, I don't know what the exact air temperature is right now, but we're going to get down to like -16 as our air temperature, and our wind chill, our high tomorrow isn't even going to get above 0 degrees Fahrenheit. I know what it's like to go out in that. I know what it like. I wear shorts in that. I'm the guy. You always hear about that guy that always is going to be in shorts and flip flops. That's me. I am that guy. Why? My legs get hot when I put pants on. It's not I'm tough and but I don't care. I want to be comfortable. My legs aren't comfortable in pants. I ride motorcycles. I actually wear pants more often in the summer than I do the winter, because when I ride motorcycles, I put pants on. Anyway, so because of all of that, and I've worked outside in an airport when it's negative whatever degrees outside. At some point, your limbs go numb. They just do. That's even the guy that wears shorts all the time for long extended periods of time. At some point, my legs are going to go numb. So I will put on a pair of either pants or like wind pants to keep them slightly warmer. But at some point, you have to work to do that. And these athletes, as great of athletes as they are, the colder you get, the harder each part of that's to do. And so there's a huge difference from guys in Miami. In fact, I would say the cold is a better advantage than the heat of Miami, which I have a huge issue with. We have these guys, and I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it on Facebook this week that the Chiefs game shouldn't have happened because it's too cold. They need to have a dome, blah, blah. Then they need to have a dome in Miami where they keep it 72 degrees. Because if you're going to tell me that because of you can't have a game because of the super cold temperatures and you have to put it in a dome, or the snow, you got to put it in a dome, then you have to put every game in a dome. Because 95 degrees or 120 degrees on one sideline versus 85 degrees on another sideline, just because the way the place was built, and it gets shade on one side and not on the other, you're going to tell me that's not a tactical advantage? That's how the game's supposed to be played? That's an unfair advantage in that you are manipulating the way that it works to make it better for one team than the other. The Chiefs and the Dolphins both had to play in the cold, but training in the cold is the advantage. So yeah, I love cold weather games. Chiefs pull it off. We will get to it. In fact, that'll be our next thing. The Rams and I'm going to jump to the next NBC game. I'm going to skip the Packers-Cowboys game just because I want to explain that the Lions won. Rich and I both picked the Lions. The Lions won 24-23. First playoff victory in 3 decades since 1991. With that win, it means that the Dolphins now have the longest playoff drought since the wild card round in 2000 was their last victory. That's 23 years. Or 24 years. Wow. Then Packers and Cowboys played on Sunday. The Packers came out and won, and they looked good, and the Cowboys didn't. The score of 48-32, way closer than it actually was. The Packers were destroying them. The Packers actually started resting guys, which allowed the Cowboys to get back into it. But 48-32, not even that close. Wasn't that good of a game. I mean, it was a good game in that the Cowboys got beat up. And it raised some questions on Mike McCarthy and what was going to happen there. We'll get to that in a second. We thought he was on a hot seat, and a loss like that is huge. And you got to think that his hot seat got even hotter. But we'll talk about that in a second. We also had the Steelers and the Bills. That game got pushed back to Monday night because of massive amounts of snow that dropped there. Rich and I both picked the Bills. The Bills pulled it off 31-17. They are hot at the right time. Oh man, that makes for a great game this week. We'll get into that in a second. And then finally, the Eagles and the Bucs played, and Rich and I both picked the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers destroyed the Eagles 32-9. And immediately while watching the game, at the end of the game, Travis Kelce announced you could see it. He was talking to his coach. I think it was his offensive line coach. It might have been his OC. I don't remember who it was, but I said Travis Kelce just told him he's retiring and he's going to announce it in the locker room. I texted it to Rich. I could show it to you, but I don't want to dox Rich and put his phone number out there for you guys all to have it. But legitimately, he straight up did. I said it, and sure enough, immediately after the game, he tells his team, and then it comes out early Tuesday morning that he had retired. Playoff records: I am 4-2. Rich is 3-3. This week we head into the divisional round of games, where we have the start the day. I think it's tomorrow, right? Let me look at that schedule. Oh well, before we get to that, let's get into. Let's also get into and talk about the coaches carousel that's happening. We know that Coach Mike McCarthy was on the hot seat. He ended up getting retained, even though there is talk out there that Bill Belichick would like to go down to the Cowboys and would have entertained it. There's a huge plethora of coaches that are still available, and I'm amazed that Mike McCarthy got to stay. He even said he thought he was losing his job. He thought he was gonna, so he had his bags packed and was talking to a realtor to sell his house. Got retained, so gets to stay in Dallas a few more months or at least a year. So yeah, that'll be nice for him. Cowboys fans, give me a shout out in the comments. Let me know what you think. I don't know. Like, for me, I don't think I'd be happy about that call. But, I don't know. Maybe. Matt Eberflus has been retained. I think he should have been fired. The offensive staff all has been fired. I still think if you're wanting to train up a quarterback, why do you put a defensive coach in charge of him? You should put a offensive-minded team / around him / management around him. They're not doing that. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. I don't think it's a good call. I don't write the checks. We did have 2 head coaches. We announced one last week, and then we have a second one to announce. Antonio Pierce of the Raiders went from interim head coach to head coach, and Jared Mayo had a succession clause in his contract, so the Patriots got Gerard Mayo as their head coach. Both are great picks. I think that's going to be good. I think Antonio Pierce, the way he's been playing this year, that was the right call. There's nothing else you can do. Like, there are things you can do. I don't think there is anything good you can do there. I think that just he had that team doing what he needed to do when he took over. As a head coach, he already has half a year of getting everything going where he wants it. Now, he tested out some of his OC, some of his coordinators, some of those positions. He can decide to bring some new guys, some different guys in, move that around. But he knows the facilities. He knows the team. He knows the management. His last 6 months as a job interview went well. Good for him. Great call. Look for the Raiders. I think this will help turn the Raiders around quite a bit. There still needs some rebuilding, so I hope they give him a long leash. But, I can't think of anybody else. So, I like I said, I couldn't have thought of someone better, but yeah. It's not where I want to be. So, still having a head coaching openings are the Chargers, the Falcons, the Seahawks, the Commanders, the Titans, and the Panthers. All have openings right now. I think the Chargers are the most appealing. The Falcons, surprisingly, might be another spot that people might be interested in. We do know that there was a post today that Jim Harbaugh is going to be in the Washington area. How weird would that be to have Jim and John in the Beltway, the Baltimore DC corridor, if you will? Good thing, bad thing? I don't know. Let me know. Post it in the comments. Would you like to see the brothers Harbaugh in the both in the same area, or should we continue to wait and let them do their thing and hopefully get everything done on that. Like, that would be fun. I don't think that's likely to happen, but you never know. And yeah. Okay, back to this week. Rich has sent in his locks or his picks for the week. The divisional round, we have the Texans versus the Ravens. The Texans are playing great, but man, they're coming up against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Now, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have a hard time in the playoffs. I would not be surprised if the Texans, they're playing with house money. What's it hurt for them to take chances in this game? I don't know. I think they're a year ahead of schedule, maybe 2 years even ahead of schedule. So look for them to have a great day today, or great game tomorrow. And they are, I I still, though, am going to pick the Ravens, and that game is tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Is that Central Time? I think it's at Central Time, and it's on ABC and ESPN. Look for that game there tomorrow. After that, we then have the Packers and the 49ers. They play on Fox tomorrow at 7:15. I'm going to pick the Packers in this one. Mostly to be contrarian, but also it helps the Lions go farther. And at this point, my Super Bowl pick on the NFC side is all screwed up, and my playoffs are all screwed up. So I'm going to continue screwing it up. Let's get the Packers in there, and hopefully it's the Packers versus the Lions in 2 weeks. So Rich picked the Ravens as well. Rich picked the 49ers. I don't trust Brock Purdy. I just don't. Don't come at me if you're an Iowa State fan. I know you love this guy. Iowa State fans are like, look at this guy. We're this underrated. Nobody cares about it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it, but slow your roll. There's a reason he was Mr. Irrelevant. There's a reason why they haven't made him a massive extension offer. He's not. If they thought he was the quarterback of the future, they would have tendered him an offer. They would have started something. Conversation, something. I don't trust him still. And don't get me wrong, they were the best team in the NFC this season. But I don't think I don't have great faith in him. So I'm going to pick the Packers in this game. Rich picked the 49ers. We'll see who wins that one. Then on Sunday on NBC at Is that the time? Sunday at 2 p.m. We have the Buccaneers and Lions. Bucks are going to win the Lions are going to win this game. I just wholeheartedly feel that they're going to win this game. By the way, the last time the Lions won 2 playoff games in 1 year, 1957. My parents hadn't even been born yet. Actually, let me check that. Let me check that stat. I want to make sure I have. I'm wrong. The Western Conference Final was so it was the December game. So this is back before they had games that went into the postseason. So yeah, the Lions won the Western Conference Final, and then they won the 57 NFL Final. My parents were less than a year old, by the way. The first time, it was the last time they won 2 games. By the way, their only championship. They did, and there were only 2 rounds. They have 0 Super Bowl wins. It wasn't called a Super Bowl back then. They have 0 Super Bowl wins. Yeah. So this is the last time that it happened. My parents were both less than a year old. Man. So I think they're going to pull it off. And the Lions win. If that happens, then the Packers have to go to Detroit. We'll see how that goes. That'll be the week after to worry about. Then the biggest game of the playoffs probably all year, and I know this is crazy to say because neither of these teams were great in the middle part of this year, but they both made the playoffs, and they're both now looking pretty good. The Chiefs and the Bills play Sunday night at 5:30 in Buffalo. By the way, currently I believe there is snow being forecasted. So, it's gonna be it'll be exciting. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. Rich is picking the Bills. One of us is gonna be right. One of us is gonna be wrong. It could tie us. It could bring us back. Bring Rich ahead. It's all crazy. We will see what happens this upcoming week. Okay, so a couple of things to talk about before I end the show, which, again, it's going to be a bit of a shorter show. It's just me today. We have NASCAR to talk about, so let's head in to the NASCAR Corner, presented, as always, by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out for all your sports memorabilia needs on 5th Avenue in Moline, or on their eBay store. Once again, that is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. This week, Jimmy Johnson has been announced. I mean, it's inevitable, but he is a Hall of Famer for NASCAR. That being announced this week is, I mean, nobody's surprised. Push me over with a feather. The guy has 7 championships, tied with the king, Richard Petty. What do we call this guy? Like, he has an amazing career that he's done, and the shock to me is that, man, just some of the stuff that this guy's done in his career. You put the guy in a car and he wins, just in general. But for the NASCAR, his first win came at the Auto Club Speedway in California for the Napa Auto Parts 500 in 2002. 83 wins later, and his last he wins 83. It is so good to see him doing well, and I believe that the Hall of Fame induction is oh man, let me get to it. This is what we get when it's just me. Sorry, I'm just looking up. Do. Joining him this year, Donnie Allison, Chad Knaus, both and Jimmy Johnson. In addition, Janet Guthrie was named as a recipient of the Landmark Award for Outstanding Contributions to NASCAR. I believe that makes her the first woman into NASCAR, the Hall of Fame. I don't remember. Let's take a look. I don't see. But yeah, so that's exciting. Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson kind of are tied together as they have that. By the way, that is happening this weekend. They are being inducted this weekend into the Hall of Fame. Totally didn't even realize that. So I'm glad I caught that now before the weekend's over. So yeah, congratulations to Jimmy Johnson, Donnie Allison, and Chad Knaus. Chad Knaus was Jimmy Johnson's crew chief for most of his wins. Donnie Allison is an old school driver back in the day, and then Jimmy Johnson is obviously Jimmy Johnson. It's also crazy that he's in the Hall of Fame, but will then also be allowed to race. Like, it doesn't keep anything from happening. Okay. Finally, with NASCAR, we are getting ready to start the NASCAR season. So we're going to do some preview stuff in the next few weeks. We're going to look at the schedule ahead for the season. We're going to look at fantasies and rule changes, any driver changes coming up, and then the Busch Clash at the Coliseum happens in like 2 weeks, like if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think it's the 3rd and 4th. Yeah, that happens the 4th. So that's 2 weeks from this weekend. We have the Busch Clash at the Coliseum. Then we have the Super Bowl, and then we're at the Daytona 500. So we're 4 weeks away, folks, from being back in the NASCAR season. How awesome is that? Can't wait. Also, be thinking about joining our fantasy NASCAR if you'd like to just participate. You get shout outs on the show. And it's week in and week out, and it's a long season. And we understand that at some point you're going to get bored, and football season's going to start. So you're going to have to pay attention to your fantasy football and your fantasy NASCAR at the same time. So you might forget. We get that, but come on, it's fun. Come have fun with us. Okay, I am going to wait on the merger for the USFL XFL merger into the United Football League, mostly because I want Rich's opinion on some of the stuff. I want to talk to him about it, that stuff. I do have some updates for esports this week. We had a Rocket League match yesterday. We have some reasons why we didn't do as well as we'd hoped, but we lost yesterday. We took our first loss this week. It was kind of rough. We failed, and that's okay. That happens. That's kind of what happens once in a while. But we played well. I was happy for the guys, and it wasn't the way we wanted it to go, but it happens. The goal is this upcoming week to learn from the issues and be better. We got some new devices for us to play on. Hopefully that will help us. Better, more consistent gameplay will allow for better, more consistent matches on our end. And then finally, we do have shirt sales. There is a link in the description on Facebook, on all of the places. 2 weeks left. The 6th of February, we end. Get your shirts now. This year's shirt's not going to be the same as next year's shirt. We might keep the hats the same. The hats might stay the same. We might change the hats a little bit, but the hats are the only thing that might stay the same. The rest of it is likely going to change for next year. I've already talked to the guys. We have a decent plan on what it's going to be. So if you want to get this year's merch, check it out in the link below. It is a fundraiser. So we're hoping to buy some better monitors, stuff like that for our team if we raise enough money. So we'd love for you to join us if you can. Check it out in the link below. See how it goes. And then finally, before we end the show tonight, we do have at least one shout out. Josh Couture's birthday. They are celebrating it tomorrow. That's why Rich can't be here tonight. And so, he won't be able to be here tomorrow. And we wanted to get this out before the football games happen. So I actually will launch. This one's going to launch Saturday at noon. So if you want to listen to it before or before the games, you'll have the opportunity to. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. If you watch it midweek or you listen midweek, but I will have this launch tomorrow. That's January 20th at noon is when this will launch on podcast and YouTube. Last week's episode will go up pretty much immediately after this one. And then tomorrow there'll be a new episode. I apologize for that. That's my bad. Actually, maybe I'll do it opposite. I'll post the other one, and you can look at the description. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, with that, let's go ahead and roll the outro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.